Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining me here today. Um, the Atlantic hurricane season starts in June, but really for islanders, it peaks in September. And we've all heard that Hurricane Fiona is on its way, and it's gaining strength, and the island will definitely feel its impact. And this is not a storm that we're going to take lightly. Uh, this is why we're going to have regular briefings like this before, during, and after the storm. And we want you all to be well informed, to take precautions as much as you can for your safety. And our goal is simple. It's to plan for the worst and hope for the best. This morning I received an update from staff on what prep work is underway, and Tanya will be sharing that with you in a few minutes. EMO has been reaching out to all our partners sooner than usual to understand how their planning is going and to offer their support. I spoke with Minister McKay earlier today, who assures me that his department are finalizing plans to help support vulnerable islanders, including those precariously housed. We are getting up to speed with what municipalities are doing to support their residents and how we can help. We are also finalizing our information sharing process with key partners like Access PEI, municipalities, and fire services. We all know that when the power goes out, getting information to more rural areas can be a challenge. While we are dependent on the internet, if there is no power to connect us, we have to use more traditional methods to get the information out. I want to add that if anyone at any time has questions about things like reception centers, their first point of contact would be their municipal council or community leaders. They make the decision on what center will be open in the area, the hours it will run, and EMO will have a running list of all the available centers across the island as the information comes in. This means critical infrastructure like Maritime Electric, Bell Alliance, Eastlink, Confederation Bridge. I'm also told that a number of the large event organizers like Fall Flavors have been in touch with EMO to get guidance on whether they should proceed, and those discussions are ongoing. We know that some events like the Charlottetown Street Festival this weekend has already taken precautions and postponed their activities. Since coming into this role, the one thing I've learned quickly is that EMO works year-round to prepare for emergency events. And when the time comes, they are ready to coordinate who we respond with and how we respond as a province. Right now, we're in a good position. We have time to plan and prepare, and that's what I'm encouraging every resident and visitor to do, to prepare as much as you can. This isn't our first storm, and it won't be our last. We know the drill on some basic preparedness measures. Make sure you have supplies for 3 to 5 days. Charge your devices. Keep things that you'll need together in one place so they're easy to find. Check your smoke alarms and carbon monoxide detectors, and practice safe fire precaution actions in your home. And don't forget to check on your family, your friends, and your neighbors. If you can help them out, please do. In the coming days, you can expect that we will lose power, and hopefully not for a long time. Once the storm passes and crews can safely begin assessments, we'll have a clearer picture of what we will need to do from a restorative perspective. I've seen it firsthand very recently with the MV Holiday Island when the ferry caught fire. Everyone rallied together and looked out for one another. And I know we'll do this throughout the hurricane as well. I have confidence that this will be the case, and that all impact islanders will be shared. People we know, friends, family, and neighbors, they're all working hard to have plans in place and to turn on quickly for when the need arises, and they'll be ready for those who need help. Now, I'm going to turn it over to Tanya, who'll be able to get more into the details, and then we'll take some questions.
Thank you, Minister Compton. So just a little bit of a summary from PEI EMO. So this morning we had our first official briefing with the Canadian Hurricane Centre to get some better details on what they are seeing currently and what the kind of plans are for the next 24, 48 hours. So what we do know, the track is still adjusting. So our ability to truly define what kind of impacts we're going to experience is still very challenging for us. But we do know that the track is kind of pivoting moving toward Atlantic Canada, and with that, we could see very significant rainfalls, high winds over the period of Friday and into Saturday. We also know that we're expecting a kind of rain moving into PEI and Atlantic Canada on Friday morning. This is actually an associated low system that's going to bring a lot of rain early on, but it's not really Fiona. Fiona is really not going to impact Atlantic Canada or Nova Scotia into PEI until later Friday evening. We could also anticipate that we will experience continued high winds throughout Saturday as Fiona moves over into Newfoundland. But so certainly we want people to be mindful of that when the sun comes out on Saturday, like we're confident it will. We want people to be ensuring that they're safe as they navigate around their property and their communities and making sure that there's any safety issues. I will say again is that this information is going to be refined. It's going to change over the next 2 days before Fiona does make landfall. So, we want people to be mindful to that as well as to be prepared and to be prepared to pivot kind of our direction. Staff at EMO have been working pretty hard since the first of yesterday, reaching out to all our partners. We have a very specific emergency operations center team that is comprised of municipalities, our critical infrastructure folks such as Maritime Electric, Confederation Bridge, Bell Alliance, all government departments, several federal government departments, and many community organizations. So collectively, we come together, and with all the resources we have at hand, we can make kind of work together to manage and coordinate a provincial response. So yesterday we started sharing some information in regards to preparedness, and if that's one message I can leave, make sure that people hear today is that the better prepared that we are, it will make a transition through response and into recovery happen a lot faster and a lot easier. Is certainly what we consider an all hands on deck. PEI EMO, as well as the province and every islander, business, organization, and municipality has a role to play in preparedness. And again, the better prepared we are, the easier it will be for everyone to consider. So as of today, the things that we know and we can say with confidence is that Fiona will impact PEI. We know that. We don't know the how and the where and the how bad, but we can say for certain we're going to see impacts. We know that islanders are preparing, and we encourage you to continue to do that. We are grateful that today the sun did come out, so tonight would be the opportunity and tomorrow to make sure your preparations are complete, preferably before Friday, as we start to see the onset of Fiona and that wind and rain start to enter into the province. EMO is activated, so we do have staff that are in our center. As of yesterday morning, we activated so that we are kind of reaching out to our partners, so it gives us an ability to kind of connect with all those and get all our plans and preparations complete. So we do have plans in place for post-event, but really our focus for the next 2 days is around preparedness. We do start planning in advance around recovery. What does that look like? But right now our attention is kind of primarily focused into preparedness activities. The further recovery actions and plans, as even though we're starting them now, they'll become more detailed as we progress, and then certainly post-Saturday, I would say, after Fiona's kind of departure into Newfoundland. With all that said, it's going to take some time. We know that there's going to be, as Mr. Compton said, we're going to have power outages. There's going to be trees down. Our trees are in full leaf, so that creates a bit of a sail environment that it's a lot easier for trees to be uprooted. With all the rain that we've had this week, it's saturated the ground, so the root system are going to be even more loose and easy to topple. So that, again, that just increases our concerns around power outages. So after Saturday, when you wake up Saturday, we really encourage you to stay home where you can be safe. Let the crews, power restoration, debris folks get out there and make the roadways in your community safe, so that when you do get out there and start to work around your property and inspect it and see if there's any damage, you can do so safely. We will be doing regular updates. Our intention now for the next couple of days, we'll be doing a daily press conference with more details to come. And then we'll continue that post-Fiona landfall to make sure that Islanders have all the information and give you another mechanism for us to reach out to you and provide information. So again, my lasting message, if I could say this, is that the better prepared we are, the easier it will to be to move into recovery. So that is kind of the lasting statement that I could say from an EMO. And I guess that's all I have for now. But if there's any questions, we are happy to take them. Thank you.
All right, it's just Laura Meter from CBC. I think we all remember Hurricane Juan. Do you expect this to be comparable to that? Go ahead.
Okay. Actually, it's an interesting question because Canadian Hurricane Center this morning actually did compare this event to Juan, and noting that if you recall back from Juan is that there was a very distinctive line of really heavy wind damage in the Charlottetown area, and then some more significant rain damage or rain impacts up in the Summerside area. So what they're anticipating, size of the storm is significant. There's a lot to unpack with this and to kind of refine, but the anticipation is it could be comparable, but it also could be, here's where it depends, where the track goes, the intensity, and the structure of the storm, but it should be a comparable event, if we could say that.
Could you just sort of rhyme off some of the things you expect to see? Trees, power outages, I know we had cell phone troubles last time, just kind of talk about that.
Sure, and just to restate the question is just to talk about the type of impacts that we could anticipate. So certainly power outages, and that would be more related to trees coming down on top of lines. So that's one of the preparedness activities that I know Maritime Electric works significantly, but also around your property. If there's an ability for you to make sure that if you have trees around lines, it's a good time to do so safely. Call in somebody to make sure those tree branches might be removed in advance of the storm, but we want people to check their water gutters, their downspouts, because if they're clogged up with anything, then that's going to cause some damage to flooding around their property. We can expect cell phone potentially damages. All very much depends on the location of the wear and as well as the strength of the wind. But I would anticipate plan for power outages, which then could lead to cell phone outages, internet, that type of thing. We'll have tree damage. We may have structural damage, like people's roof might lose some shingles. You might lose some of your siding on your property. So you'd need to be mindful of that. We could have coastal flooding. Storm surge is a very strong possibility, most specifically on the north side, because that's the direction the wind will be traveling. So we will want to encourage landowners along that area to kind of protect their belongings as they would typically in other storm surge events. So kind of everything's on the table. High wind. The one benefit that we have, if you can consider this, is that it's warm out. We feel the warm out today. It's plus 20, and that's with that push of that tropical air. So we're not facing a winter storm with minus 20, which is the only thing that we can take from this that's probably good.
I just have one question for Minister Compton. You mentioned how measures were being taken to protect vulnerable islanders. Can you expand on what's happening? Well, EMO has been in communication with all departments and to ensure that vulnerable islanders, including vulnerable islanders, will be protected during the storm. I've talked to Minister McKay, and I know they're working on a plan for anyone who's homeless or needs help. And through that department, they will be dealing with any of the challenges that they have. I think maybe you should reach out or wait for the press release from Social Development and Housing. Yeah.
So we're here, right here with the Guardian. After Hurricane Dorian, many were left without power access for many days. What sort of measures has the EMO taken to try to prevent or reduce the amount of islanders that could be affected this time around?
Yeah, thank you for the question. It's about regarding power and how long people will be without power and what EMO has done. And I'm probably going to pass it over to Tanya because she is the EMO expert we've got here.
So during Dorian, so we work really closely with Maritime Electric. Maritime Electric is actually one of our Emergency Operations Center partners. So, the activities and the approach to restoring power is really theirs. They're the expertise on that. They take guidance and support from us in regards to trying to identify where the priority areas might be. If there's certain pieces of infrastructure, take for example a hospital, all of which would have generators, but if something happened or there was a particular area that we were seeing need to restore, we would talk with Maritime Electric. Sometimes it's hourly throughout the storm event and then post-recovery to kind of make sure that we're in alignment and determine where their needs and their resources need to be prioritized. But for how they do that, we take the lead from them. They are the subject matter experts as it relates to power restoration.
Any further questions?
No further questions.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone, and we'll be back tomorrow.